Hello again, everyone. It's Tom Lamog, and welcome to the Guitar Servette's Guitar Shop. And Dan, I want to thank you for taking care of business last month while I was able to step away to the Hero Stock event in Ashland, Nebraska.
It was my pleasure, Tom. Absolutely my pleasure. And it was so fortunate that you did get to do that.
Yeah, it's one
of those once-in-a-lifetime things when you can get out and do it. It was amazing you could get to jam with everybody that you were that was there.
I jammed so much I lost my voice the next day, and it's like, good thing I didn't have a song sung true or anything like that, because it was like I can't seem to find my voice. But for some reason, their Nebraska Brewing Company, I'm going to get a shout out to them in Omaha, took care of helping me restore my voice after a few cool, refreshing beverages. I can't say enough good things about Hero Stock. If you have an opportunity to check it out, it's a music festival.
It's always fun to be behind the scenes on different things too. And I've had the fortune of doing that on several occasions, of being the backstage guy or being around the people in an area where everybody's organizing, and especially like for radio interviews live at the shows and stuff. So it's quite fascinating, and sometimes I've gotten a chance to talk with some of the technical people, which and actually was behind the board, not actually physically working it, but at the board, watching how everything goes on, and it's
pretty cool. I mean, if you have an opportunity to stand behind the sound engineer with the mixing board, some of it's automated. You'll see the controls just kind of work by themselves. It's pretty amazing to watch, and I had a chance to watch that. And as much as I'd like to talk about that particular solution today, it is audio and they did record it. I want to, first of all, just kind of let everyone know really what's the scope of this conversation today, and what we're basically going to you as the graduates of Guitar Servette's program, or maybe someone who's currently in the program, or maybe you're thinking of, pursuing a career in playing guitar or songwriting, audio recording solutions. There are a number of reasons why, some real positive things to recording yourself. And we're going to talk about that. The technologies will include something as portable and easy to get to as your mobile device. We're going to talk about, audio recorders as well, too. Are they any good compared to some of the things that are out there with mobile devices and apps? We're also going to look at some of those apps as well, too. They if you haven't really looked into loading an app into your mobile device, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And at the end, we're going to tease you a little bit about the computer digital audio workstation. But before we move forward, let me introduce the panel, and the panel of subject matter experts, in my opinion. And first of all, Daniel B. Daniel B, of course, is the co-host of our Guitar Shop. But we also, John Hensley is joining us, and you may have seen some of the promotional information about John, who is a singer-songwriter that's based in Georgia. And next week, Tuesday, if you tune in, he is my next guest on Songs Sung True, a Veterans View. Hey, John, we want to give a quick intro. Just introduce yourself real quickly, and your tie-in to sound audio.
Yeah, hey, everybody. I'm John Hensley, and I'm a singer-songwriter. I live down in a place called Noonan, Georgia, and the town's a little bit known because Alan Jackson is also from this town, which is pretty cool. He did a pretty good job and was pretty successful as a singer-songwriter. But for whatever reason, they won't put my name on the sign next to his. I'm not sure why, but I've been talking to the city about it. So my tie-in to the sound world, not only am I a singer-songwriter, I have recently started school, and I'm going through a program called Apprentice Academy that's based out of Nashville, Tennessee. And I met a gentleman that runs the academy. His name's Joe West, and he is a Grammy award-winning record producer as well as a multiple hit songwriter. So I'm getting to learn how to do recording and audio engineering, kind of left seat, right seat with a guy that has done it at a pretty high level. So that's been really exciting.
Very cool. Well, glad you're with us today to talk a little bit about audio recording solutions. John DeMarco, you've been with us before as well, too. One of our instructors, did I read correctly? St. Paul, Minnesota?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Please reintroduce yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm a Guitars for Vets instructor. Been doing it, in person for about a year and a half, and then I joined the Cyber chapter not too long after that, I guess. So having a lot of fun here. My background is I was in a lot of garage bands when I was a kid, and we had something called a Tascam, which was a little device that used a cassette tape, if anybody remembers cassette tapes, and you had a whole 4 channels you could record into, and that was my first experience with recording basically a garage band. Fast forward a number of years to the advent of the Macintosh computer and Apple, and they actually have a product called GarageBand, and so I got hooked again as an adult. It's more for myself. I don't release much as far as music to anybody except for close friends, but I am constantly buried in the software and playing guitar and keyboard into it, so love it.
We have so much to cover with what inspires a musician to want to record themselves. And if you move past just the beginning aspect of a guitar player that wants to listen to themselves, what about the singer-songwriter? How do they capture? Is a recorder or audio recording solution something that they want to consider? And finally, another prospect that I came into was I just want to sound good, and this is one way to evaluate as well, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. Michael O'Connell is also one of our Guitars for Vets instructors who's also presented information on the Guitar Shop in previous episode. Michael, it's great to have you back.
Well, thanks so much, Tom. Good morning, everybody. So let's see, recording. I'll just introduce my little piece of this, as we'll get into in a few minutes, by saying that the only comparison I ever had to recording myself were the folks who were singing on the radio or on the platters, right, on the records, and so I could never sound as good as them. So I stopped recording myself a long time ago. That was back in the 70s, by the way. And until then, until recently, I do this semi-professionally, by the way. I perform. I'm a one-man band. And so, it's been a few years now, but I said, wait a minute, maybe I could record myself and improve a little bit more, just instead of listening to my ear. And that's how I got into recording and the use of simple tools, the use of DAWs. I use Logic Pro, for example. But anyway, there's a whole range of solutions, but I'm going to talk, when it's my turn here, about the little one on your cell phone.
All right. Well, real good. All right. So listen, let's go ahead and throw the first panel question out there. All right. This will kind of set the stage in the things that we are hopefully going to include in our conversation. And to the panelists, why would we want to record? Why would we want to pick an audio recording solution? Pros and cons. Who's first? Daniel.
I'll start it out.
All right.
Well, you want to hear yourself. You want to find out if you're playing to a proper level of what you want. If you're trying to find, to be able to self-criticize, whether you're singing on key, whether you're playing the right chords. It could be just, that's generalizing, but it could be just about anything, or what you could do to enhance your performance. It could be good for rehearsing. It could be good for demos. Demos is big when you're trying to get out and do club dates. So there's just too many advantages, and it's too numerous to really express how good it would be to record yourself or to be able to do recording and have some knowledge on that.
Now I have a question before we move on to the rest of the panel here, but on this particular podcast, how many of you have recorded yourselves? Raise your hand. Okay, so we've got people who are experienced with recording themselves. How many found it to be an eye-opener the first time you recorded yourself? Yeah. I mean, and Ken, I would love to hear what you've discovered after recording yourself that first time.
I don't sound anything like what I do in my head.
A lot of people say that. Dude, a lot of people, oh, that's what I sound like? Really? Eye-opener.
Absolutely. It was eye-opening. And then, getting on time. And, you really needed that metronome going off and clicking inside your ear and then having a good set of headphones helped a lot too.
Very good. Very good. I mean, when you do it the first time, just like with anything, you set the baseline, right? It's kind of like, I have no idea what I'm going to sound like. So when you find a recorder, a recording solution, you are now committing to saying, I would really like to know what I sound like. And then from there, and just like Ken explained, he talks about, hey, I've picked up some things I didn't know that, they were happening. And now I can focus my attention on improving those. What else? What else? I'm going to go ahead and throw this back out to the back to the instructor panel as well too. Why record? Is there what are some of the others?
There's I'm gonna jump in.
Okay.
So when I started singing, and not before I recorded, I had no idea how good I could be or was, or bad I was. But as I started recording, I started to recognize characteristics or see characteristics in my voice, in particular, that allowed me to then develop a style, a singing style. So I play guitar and sing. So that was one of the eye openers for me, is I could then tweak what I heard that I liked and change what I didn't like about my voice and create a style. So that's just an idea to kind of throw out there.
Yeah, that's kind of like a songwriter perspective, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And even a performer, when you're doing licks and riffs, it's kind of like, I wonder what this sounds like. Well, you're not going to really know until you record it and then play it back.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And a real big thing for me was, using recording software or a DAW, and maybe from a performance standpoint, this is, I'm cheating, but, you can make a mistake in your recording. You can punch it out and punch something else in to replace it, or if you don't sing a verse quite the way you want to, you can go in and fix it. And so that's kind of how I do it. It's like, well, okay, let's do this live, and then let's try to improve it by playing this little riff here, or this little thing here, or boy, I really didn't hit the right note there. What's the different note I should be playing? And you can fix that kind of stuff. So that's a lot of fun too.
Technology, it can be your friend, as opposed to me. It's like I got way too much of it. All of a sudden, I'm touching way too many things, and that might be the reason why we're not really talking too much about the computer digital access workstation, right, or audio workstation right now. We want to introduce you to some of the simpler technologies. And so for right now, what I'd like to do is focus our attention on some of those solutions that exist. And our instructor panel, each of us is ready to go ahead and throw some ideas your way. And if you're wondering, I'm not really sure what exactly I want to get. I have something, but I don't know if it's the right solution for me. So hopefully, as we go through these solutions, you'll get some ideas on where to go from here, kind of thing. So the first person who will be stepping up, let's see, John DeMarco, you're the first, right? Are you the first?
Yeah, it says I can't share my screen though. You'll have to give me the power.
I'm gonna make you a co-host. You're gonna have the power, all right. Are you able to share now?
Yes.
Okay.
Get over to advanced, to iPhone.
Okay. Yeah, this is going to be one of those things we're going to be doing a lot of screen sharing. So appreciate your patience with us as we go through this.
Yeah, let me.
And while you bring that up, John, so again, we're looking at the mobile device solely as the solution here. And if you're thinking, it's such a pain. It's such a pain to record myself. I'm going to have to get all this different technology. No, you don't. And John's going to introduce, a couple of fairly easy solutions that you can use, really fairly quickly if you wanted to. So what you got there, John? It looks like
yeah. So hopefully you can see my iPhone now.
We see
the screen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I've got a couple down here. Actually, GarageBand comes free with every single iPhone out there, or iPad, or on the Macs. The other two that I play with is Bandlab, which is a little bit more like a DAW, which I'm going to stay away from today. But I'm going to go to Soundlab, and Soundlab is literally just like a multi-track recorder. And it's very simple. They do charge, I want to say, to like $3 and some cents per month if you want to have all the bells and whistles. Otherwise, they have a free version. And literally, when it comes time to record something, you just say, well, I want a audio track, and then you'll see where it's got a button down there. It says Start Record. And I'm just going to use my voice for right now. But I'm going to say testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. What is it picking up? And then I'm going to finish record. And there you have my first wave file or wave track. So for those of you who have seen this before, it's no surprise, but this is basically what all these things do when it comes to recording analog sound. And by that I mean like acoustic guitars or voices or whatever. It creates a wave file, and I'm going to hit play. So hopefully you heard it play back. I don't know if you did, Tom, or not.
No, we didn't.
Okay, that's too bad. I won't go into the rest of the demo then.
We see the wave file, which is impressive.
Yeah.
You never seen it.
Yeah, and so basically, I could add another track here, and then record, and if I did that, then I could do a guitar part or something like that. And so, there's my second wave file. And so, again, I won't try to play it back. But what's really cool about this is that you can do a little bit of work here. And unfortunately, you can't hear it. So we'll work on that for our next time that we show this kind of stuff. When we do the DAWs, I'll make sure that sound works. But you can go in and trim these. You can do a lot of different things to essentially pump up the glory of these. You can add, for instance, you can add a little bit of reverb, those kinds of things. Now, this particular software, you're not going to add a drum track. You're not going to add that kind of stuff. It's kind of like whatever you can put into the microphone of the system itself. And by the way, I should just mention, because you can see it bouncing, that recording meter is really important, and I'm sure Daniel B or John can talk more about it, but you really don't want that to go into the yellow very often, and you certainly don't want it to go into the red, and that will happen quite often with guitars in particular. So mic placement is important. I'm going to stop sharing that, and now I'm going to share something called Audacity.
And Audacity, that's the one that floats around the communities that I belong to a lot. It's one of the more popular. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that was the sound wave.
Is that supposed to be something like this? We are the Borg.
I was just gonna say, Tom. You're right. A lot of musicians like to use Audacity because it's free, and there's a lot of tricks you can use it for. So, like for example, it has noise filtering in the options, which is really popular for podcasters, where you can basically get a sound sample of your room and then filter it out of your recording so that it sounds like you're in an actual professional recording booth.
Yeah.
And you're reducing the room noise, basically. So it's got a lot of free, lot of great functions that are absolutely free.
Real popular. Hey, Johnny, you good?
Sorry about that, guys. So you're looking at Audacity, and so this is kind of the computer version. And again, I think, as John mentioned, this is used quite a bit by podcasters and others. It's a lot like that little app I just showed you. You can create as many tracks as you want. It's absolutely free, which is nice because you don't have to pay a monthly fee. The interesting thing to me about this is, it does let you get to some other effects. And so, if I click the effects button up here and hit add effects, you'll see that not only do I have effects, like compression, distortion, phasers, reverb, etc. from Audacity, but I actually have some what are called VSTs, which are virtual instruments that I can pump into here from some of my other software that I've got. And again, I won't bore you with the detail there. The other thing that I would just mention with this is, for me, that I like about it, and I'm going to just do a quick record here, and you'll see the waveform, starting to be created here. For me, I like it a lot because, and I'll stop here. I like it because I can go in here and I can very quickly, split something, and then say, well, I want to get rid of this little piece right here, right? And get rid of it. Here we go. Yep. And then get rid of it, and I can, time shift this, right, to get it right where I want to. And then, down here on my second one, you'll see that I've got it for electric guitar. And again, if I hit record, and I guess you won't be able to hear this, but a little bit of guitar coming in. And again, just really fast to, do some quick tweaks to this, to make it the way I want it to be. You'll notice it picked up because I have both of them running, both tracks running, which is the other thing I should mention. You can record as many tracks as you want at one time, or you can decide to record one track at a time. So that's the other cool thing, is you can just play your guitar in, get your guitar right, and then go back and sing music.
Hey, John.
The vocals. So
hey, John.
That's my little demo at this point. And again, I use it to take as many takes as I need, right? And then cut the bits and pieces together that I like. Yeah.
And this is a free application, right? And
it absolutely is. And it actually, you can get a click track going in here. You can import, if you've got a drum track from something else, you can import a drum track. I will tend to go in here and do, an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar, a bass guitar, maybe voice, and maybe even some keys, and build out a song. And it might be a song that I know, or it might be a song that I'm just inventing. It's just a lot of fun.
So let me ask you this one question, and that is, let's say, for instance, you're the graduate of the Guitars for Vets program, and it's like, yeah, we've been drilling into them. You need to record yourself. How easy is it for them to just go ahead and get this application? What are they supposed to do next? Can you step them real quickly through that?
Yeah, so they've made it a little bit harder recently for Audacity. You have to go out to a website. Let me see if I can find you the name of it. And it is called Muse Hub. M-U-S-E Hub. And what they're really trying to do is convince you that not only do you need Audacity, but you need to give them your email address, and then you have access to some free plugins and instruments, as well as they want to sell those to you as well. But the actual download of Audacity for the PC and the Mac is completely free. And you will see that it's out on other places besides MuseHub, but I think MuseHub is the official download spot.
All right, John DeMarco, very, very good. Thank you for the brief introduction. Now, that was this mobile device, and actually there's a computer workstation and a mobile device. These are a couple of different options that you can go ahead and look into. I like the word free. A lot of people do. Free and powerful is even more. Actually, that's better. And it would even be even more, I don't know, more valuable would be, can you export those files and then import them in through a powerful DAW? And most of these solutions are able to do that. So I'm thinking about doing from 20 years ago when I started doing this type of sound mixing, and it's like, wow, I wish this was around 20 years ago. It's a lot cheaper and a lot more powerful. So now we're going to move to a recording device that is dedicated to audio recording, or at least at the very in its simplest form. There's no phone calls, no email. It's basically just an audio recorder. And John Hensley, who is a singer-songwriter from Georgia, he introduced himself as also studying to do, working with sound. So I've invited John to go ahead and talk about the next solution, which is, what have you got, John?
All right. So I have a device. It's called a Zoom Q2N. I don't know if you guys can see that really well. It's a handheld video and audio recorder. And what's really interesting about it is if you look at the front here, it's got XY microphones. So this is going to get you a lot better audio quality than like your iPhone would, because it's a more of a directional mic and you get in stereo. This cost about $200, and in the modern era, if you're looking to get stuff out, most people want to put videos out on social media, or they want to be able to share stuff just digitally, right? This is a great solution for that because it records in 4K and it gives you really nice audio quality. A couple of things that make it particularly helpful is it's got a gain set knob, so you can set an auto gain. That way, when you're recording, if your level is too loud, it will automatically squash that level for you so you don't go into a distorted mode, or you can roll it and do it in a manual mode, which is helpful depending on, what you're recording. Basically, you take it, set it up. It's just as easy as, point and play. And I bought one that came with a little tripod. I can literally just sit up on the desk. I can capture my video. You have the ability to watch it on the screen on the back and listen to it at a pretty low level. And if you want to, you can put a headphone jack in there. You can listen to it via your headphones. What's really also a pretty cool feature that it has is once you, it saves everything on a micro SD. So when you take the micro SD card out, you can put that in your computer. I have a Mac, put it right inside of the computer. You can pull your video and your audio off, and it separates them from a video file, and you have a stereo audio file underneath it. So if you may have made a mistake and didn't have your gain quite set high enough, you can actually increase the decibel level on the MP3 file that comes over with it. So you can kind of correct some of the stuff you may have messed up on the front end. And then because it's an MP3 file, you can literally do whatever you want with it. You can separate it completely from the video. You can put it into a DAW, and you can add all kinds of other things if you wanted to, just because it's an MP3 file, and you can do that. But it's a pretty cool solution, and relatively cheap, about $200, and you get pretty good, decent video on it. And I think I have a Facebook post that I have teed up that's just a video that I shot on that camera. If you guys want to see it, just to get a sound comparison.
Are you able to share? Are you able to go ahead and share?
Let's see. All right, so that is me on Facebook, and this is a video that I shot direct from this camera. If I can get it to
Day morning, man, she woke up fighting me. Bitching and moaning on and on about the time I've had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you guys can hear the quality is really nice, and that's on a $200 recorder that I got off of Sweetwater.
Now, is this an MP3 format? Is that what this is, or MP4 format?
I believe it's MP3.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, I mean, you have the ability to also record in like wave format. I mean, is it multiple formats, or is it?
I'm not actually sure. Like I said, I believe it comes over as an MP4 because of the video, and then I'm not sure. I guess it is MP4. I'm not sure. I really don't know. It comes over as an audio file, and I've never actually looked at it hard enough to where I needed to ask that question.
Hey, so that's something you're going to have to go back to your sound mentor.
Yeah, I might have to look at it now. I'm like, not even sure. Yeah.
Hey, just everyone should know this is that as you may have seen John introduce himself, he is a singer-songwriter, and he is going to be my next guest on Song Sung True, a Veteran's View. He's going to share a lot more than what he's sharing here with regards to sound mixing, sound engineering, his experience, but he's also got some songs to share. So, John, thank you so much for that introduction. Is there anything more you wanted to add about this particular solution?
We talked about earlier being able to critique yourself. And one of the things that I noticed when I got that particular solution is that it really picked up my guitar very well.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to play a little softer because my voice was getting overshadowed by my instrument. So that was an immediate critique that I was able to make of myself. So I learned how to play a little quieter so that my performance would be, more balanced, and I would sound like I was, not competing so much with my instrument.
That's the thing. The interesting thing about recording, all of a sudden, it's no longer just put the microphone there, put the device right there. It's like the things that you're feeding into the microphone, those are things that you'll want to be cognizant of. My dog's in the background, they're going to be, and you're going to hear them. You better know to mute, find the mute button, or at least maybe position yourself closer to the microphone, angle it a certain way. But all of these things start to come to mind as you start to advance beyond, I just want to record myself and send it to my instructor kind of a thing, right? If you want to start sharing this with your family or your friends, you start thinking about quality of recording itself. And these devices and these solutions that we're talking about put you really on that path to making sound really as best as you can. Let's see here. Before I get to Michael O'Connell, I just want to quickly show you another solution. Let me just spotlight myself here for just a minute here. So what I've got here is the Shure MV88. And, we do use our mobile devices, and there are times where it's like, you know what? I want something that sounds or records a little better than really the built-in proprietary microphone that comes with the mobile device. And I thought, there's a reason why, they made this. It's so powerful, and it's a shame that no one really thought about turning this into an audio recorder. And then, of course, I started shopping for solutions, and the one that came up was the Shure microphone. It's got a stand here for your mobile device. It also has a tripod, connects via USB-C in one end, and the microphone itself is not that big, but the MV88 Plus, it records in stereo, but it also has like a center microphone. So if you want to set this up in a performance situation where you've got the whole band, all you really need to do is just set this off to the side somewhere and point it at the band, and it's going to pick up in a stereo type of configuration. You can also select in the software. There's a piece of software that comes with this, an app that I won't go too deep into, but it's very similar to what you've seen both John and John. It's like it's got compression, it's got reverb, stereo recording, mono recording. You can record in wave, but the bonus to all of this too is you can record video, right? Video from your mobile device, and using the software, it's really easy to convert into something that you can easily post to social media or create a file that you can share with friends or family. The price of this, the package itself was $175, right? So you had just an awesome microphone. In fact, if you're familiar with some of the recordings that I make for deconstructing, the last deconstruction that I did was Sting, and actually it was The Police, Every Breath You Take. This was the solution that I used to record that. So next time you're on the G4V Learning Center, check out that recording. This is what I used, was this MV88 Plus by Shure. $175 for the whole thing. So I thought that was a cheap and easy solution. The app itself is really as easy as what these gentlemen are sharing right now as well. So definitely give that some thought if you're looking to go beyond just the basic of the microphone that's built into the mobile device. All right. So with that said, I am now going to bring up Michael O'Connell, who's got a solution here to share. And let's see. Let me find you. Where are you, Mike? There you are.
I'm right here.
Yeah. What are you going to share? What are you going to share with us here?
Oh, let's just see. Allow something here. I have to allow this phone to do something. Okay, good. So I wanted to I'm going to share a very simple solution, a software solution I have an iPhone, and but I just wanted to make a comment in that. I started recording actually using a precursor to this piece of software, and so I use this one for quick stuff now. But when I got into DAW, I am completely fascinated by what I can do in a DAW now in terms of producing music, vocal, guitar, just amazing. So I just want to kind of shout out for anybody that looks at those things and thinks they're intimidating. They are, by the way, in a way, is that it's really worth spending some time and learning, getting a course or something for your particular DAW and learning the basics and then building on top of that. Because for me, now being basically a budding recording engineer, I'm just fascinated by this stuff. So there, I'll leave it at that. But when I started recording, I was more interested in just hearing myself play back and maybe sharing, with family members or friends what I was doing. And I went out there and I found something called Dolby On. So Dolby is the big sound company that you're all familiar with. And On is this little piece of software that runs on the iPhone or it runs on the Android phone. It's very, very similar. And it is a simple recorder with effects. And so what I'm going to do is just jump to that screen. Okay, we're going to start broadcasting. We're going to go to Dolby On. Okay, so do you see the Dolby On screen? It has 4 zeros, has a clock, and a microphone icon. Is that visible?
We can see it.
Okay, good. All right. So this is the big interface, right? You start the product, and then you just click record. Now there's some settings you can. And by the way, it's not interacting. It's not allowing me to interact, unfortunately. But there are some settings you can have a click in or a time in, a countdown in, and things like that. And then it records, and it will produce a WAV file from whatever microphone you're using. And let me sidebar that for a little bit. There are, as Tom pointed out, there are some external mics that you can use on your mobile device. And in general, the device itself, your phone in this case, is going to determine somewhat the quality of the recording, both in terms of its processor capability, how fast, how many samples can it take, and the other one is how good a microphone it has on board. For the most part, if all you want to do is listen to yourself and tweak your playing, right, understand where it's good, where it's not good, then the iPhone without any external mic is just fine. This particular iPhone captures the full range that a wider range, that a quality microphone will capture, and so you'll hear everything that you did, and you can play it back. I use a couple of external mics, but you can add. I have an iRig Studio, for example. You can get an interface that allows you the simple cable interface type device that allows you to put a Shure SM, one of your studio mics onto an iPhone. And you can get as quality a recording mic as you want for an iPhone. But for the most part, I just use the actual mic on the iPhone itself. If I want to do something with higher quality, then I go to my DAW and I kind of go jump in my studio. Okay, so once I've recorded, and then I can move over to these tracks. And I'm not going to necessarily play for you, but I could. But what I want to highlight is the tools that are available. And so if I push this little tools icon, and this is where it takes your basic recording and it allows you to put some nice, feeling to it, I'll call it. So the tools are, you have this style button, And for my acoustic guitar recordings, I use natural, but you can see this deep amped, right? Standard lyric. So if you're singing, you want to highlight your vocals. And I click on this little button here, and then I have a simple slider. So how natural do I want this recording to sound? And what it does is it basically builds out, it produces higher richness to the sound. A lot of these do that. We either by adding some reverb or adding, some other kind of processing to the sound. But I can push this little guy and right. Or I could put in lyrics, like I mentioned, if I wanted to record my vocals. And how gentle a processing do I want, or how strong a processing do I want? And then once I do that, I also have a noise reduction button. So if I have some background noise, I can eliminate that. That tends to eliminate or reduce the squeaking of your guitar's, strings as you slide on them, for example. I have a little boost capability where I can essentially bring out more of the bass of the sound, it seems, and put a little bit more reverb to it. And then finally, I can adjust the treble, the mids, and the bass independently on the recording. So with that, maybe I'll just give you a quick sample. So I'm going to cancel out of here. So let's just go back here. So I'll just give you track 39 with, and that would have been with some of the processing behind it. Let's see if it plays. No, once again, it's not going to allow me to interact, but it'll take what's generally you can think of as a thin recording and add a lot of richness to the recording itself. And why do I want to do that? Is if I want to send something off to a buddy and I want it to sound a little more professional than the basic recording, then I can add these tweaks to it, this sound processing, and then ship it off that way as a WAV file to someone. So that's sort of that is the basic, probably one of the most basic recorders and and audio processors that you'll find out there. That runs on your iPhone or your Android phone. Put it in your pocket, sit down in a park, record what you want to record, tweak it out, and you're good.
What's funny is that as you describe this pretty much as a basic recorder, when you think about the solutions that we had 25 years ago, this would be considered, oh my goodness, this is a gold mine. There's
absolutely. This is studio work, right?
Isn't it funny just how far the technology has come? And here's something also surprising that I want to share is if you take a look, I don't know how many of our community members did the poll that Daniel had put up, a portable recording rig, band practice, or your cell phone. I want to record myself playing guitar. We gave you 4 options, and the most popular option was, of course, the computer-based system with audio interfaces. And it's like, are our community members a lot more sophisticated than where I was at their stage? Was yeah. So these people are like brave.
Really, and this comes in handy when you don't want a complicated interface, or you just have your phone with you, and you have an idea you want to jot down with a recording. It's great for that. It really is very good for that. Or if you want to, if you just want a simple way of listening to what you're doing and then trying to improve what you're doing without caring about where it goes afterwards, you're just doing it for your own, your own learning benefit. It doesn't get much simpler.
Well, thank you for that introduction. Now, there, as everyone knows, they've got all of these different technologies that are available. It could be simply your mobile device, adding a microphone, an external microphone, adding applications, which some of them are free and some of them are very powerful. We also have the standalone audio recording device that we talked about as well, too. I want to go ahead and open this up to the community right now before we get into the pièce de résistance, which is the discussion that Daniel and the rest of the instructors will have towards that digital audio workstation solution that everyone seems to be, selecting as this is what I use. So let's talk about this. Are you for the instructors? Are you seeing this as a solution that that requires a lot of thought, or is this should be a slam dunk? I mean, there's just pick a solution kind of thing. I mean, what are your thoughts? Is this something that people should be fearful of, or it's like, no, they're all relatively easy, just pick one? So let me go around the room. John DeMarco, let me start with you. Have you got a thought on that? So many solutions. Do you have to overthink this? Is it as easy as we make it out?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I personally, I'm kind of a software hog. You know, if I can download it, I will, and try it out. And certainly a lot of these programs, even the paid for ones, have got, free trial periods, anything from, a couple of days to, I think Logic, as a DAW, I think they have like a 3-month time frame or something like that you can play with it. So I would say it's all about the interface and what makes you comfortable, right? And I mean, like I had never seen the Dolby, app before, and I'm going to probably go out and download that and give it a try because it might be better than something else I've used. Mm-hmm. But no, don't be fearful. And if it seems too complex, there's always something out there a little bit easier, or that visually sort of works for you. Everybody sees things a little bit differently and reacts, especially the technology, differently. So, simple is probably better to start off with. I wouldn't jump into Logic or some of those, but right away. But I think the rest of them, give a couple of them a try.
All right, real good. And John Hensley, I mean, you have obviously taken this up as a profession in addition to being a singer-songwriter and a performer, looking into the wonderful world of audio. What tips might you have for our guitar playing community, especially the ones who are just now getting underway? What do you suggest that they be looking for?
If you're looking for DAWs are great, and the good thing about being in the year 2024 is that there's a lot of information out there on the internet. I feel like if there was a generation behind us that had YouTube like we have, then we'd be in a completely different technological world that we're in. I've only recently gotten into using Pro Tools because it's part of the school I'm going to, but every now and then you're just like, how do I do this on Pro Tools? I just don't know. And you'd be surprised with about 2 or 3 searches on YouTube, you can find the solution to the answer that you're looking for. And now you have that knowledge forever. So, don't be afraid of DAWs. They are a little bit complex, and you can really do as much as your mind can fathom inside of them. But, there are a lot of resources out there that'll talk you through it, so don't be intimidated by it. It's not as mystical as you'd think.
Fantastic. Great advice. Michael, so I'm new to wanting to record. What questions should I be asking myself? What should I be asking before I dive into making a selection?
So, so since I've really recently upgraded my whole studio, including my software, I went through some of the software, but I went through that whole exercise. And the first thing I had to ask myself is, why am I using this, right? What do I want to do with it? And that kind of drove a couple of decision fork. So I'm a performer. I have backing tracks that I use. I have drum bass backing tracks. I have some other processing on my synthesizer on my iPad, and that's my main music machine aside from my guitar and my vocals. And so there are DAWs. Ableton Live, for example, is more geared towards using it for live performances. Not that you can't use the other ones to do some things, but so the question is, which way am I going with this? And typically it's going to be, I'm guessing I want to record and I want to tweak. And then I bought some Apple equipment a long time ago, and I figured, okay, I'd like to stick with this, right? Windows doesn't seem to cut it when it comes to music production, at least didn't at the time. And so, I talked to my sales engineer at Sweetwater, and he recommended Logic. And so I looked into it, and I went, you know what? That actually is not just the vendor throwaway. No, that's a really powerful solution. And it comes with my MacBook. I can run it on my iPad. I can run a little piece of it on my iPhone. So I went for a solution that seemed to integrate well with the hardware platform I was using, which was that. and and the cost was very low. It comes along with the MacBook, and so for me that kind of drove the solution, recognizing that they all have little specialty areas, perhaps all have a little bit different way of presenting the interface. Some have more automation than others in a way, but then I realized, of course, there are all these plugins that you can automate as much as you want, right? So I just looked at one yesterday which says, we're going to do magic EQ for you, right? From Waves, the new EQ, which it analyzes everything, it analyzes the mix, and it goes, we're going to EQ this so it sounds beautiful, right? So, I mean, it's even getting somewhat very simple to do it, even in complicated DAWs.
At least the experience that I've had in using these types of solutions is kind of like, gosh, I wish I had a little reverb. And it's like, well, now the software apparently makes it so easy for you to just either mildly implement something or just way out of control.
And what's really important nowadays, now that we're moving further in time into these solutions, is that you don't necessarily have to be an audio engineer because of automated AI software that does the analysis for you, that has some presets that already tweaks out all the crappy parts, and right, if you want to say that. And so you can get more into the driver's seat of the AI tool, as opposed to the guy that knows how the AI tool works, right? Or the one that used to do it manually.
Now let me go ahead and bring Daniel into this conversation, because we're merging into the DAW world. You're chomping at the bit. Now here's the question that I have first, Daniel, and I know you're going to dive right into and talk a little bit about what happens when you get into the DAW and you start doing these different things. What happens as a musician? I've got a song in mind, I just want to play my guitar part and get in there. Then you see all the toys that we're talking about in the DAW. How do you separate? How do you become, good at both, right? So those are the things that people need to be thinking about is, do you want to be a musician? Do you want to be a sound person, a sound engineer, sound mix person? And can you do both really well? So Daniel, you are a man. First of all, tell us briefly tell us the experience that you've had in working through sound mixing, sound engineering, DAWs.
Let's get on with it. As most musicians that have been gigging musicians, you have to have a sound system, and most bands have to run their own sound system. So pretty much anybody in the band, or most of my bands I've been in, everybody knew a little bit about doing sound engineering. You learn how to run the mixer, you learn how to set up the mics, especially for drums. Drums can be very difficult, and that's when you're getting into the real meat and potatoes of actual sound engineering. It just amazes me that you can pull out your tablet or your iPhone or your Android phone and all the controls that you can have right there in front of you, and be able to do everything that we used to have to do back in the day. I apprenticed for 2 years and worked in a studio that had a 24-track recorder, a 36-channel board. This thing took up a 20 by 20 room, plus the studio area itself, the plethora of microphones, all the outboard equipment, and even in this particular studio, we had a steel plate reverb that was a 4x8 sheet of steel that was in a box, and it was controlled with a stick that had a damper on it. These are the days. And you think about what the Beatles recorded on 4-track, just 4 tracks. And then came the 8-track, and then came 16 tracks, and then 24-track tape, which is, by the way, 2 inches thick, or 2 inches wide. Not thick, wide. It's just incredible. And so all that power that you had then and all that equipment is now right here.
Amazing.
And that's what really gets me. Okay, the simplicity of using a phone is really great. Or some of the audio, the recording devices like the one that John has. Those Zoom, I was really impressed when I first saw those. I had a band about 2 years ago. Shouldn't say recently, about 2 years ago. And we were trying to record, and the only thing we had available was we kept trying to use a GoPro and then a separate Zoom console with 4 tracks and mics. And, now all that's right there. And just hold it in your hand. And I understand those Zooms have actually 4 microphones in them. Is that right, John?
I think it's 4. I think it's 2 that are XY both directions.
2 XY and then 2 direct. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So now we can do the simple stuff that we have on our phones. And really that's the place to start. I really think so, Tom. If we were basically getting going to graduate up into DAW, learn how to operate the little mixing features that they have in the cell phones or in maybe a laptop. Usually they're the same, Android or iPhone. And learn those. And then, now you want to get into being the big boy, going up into creating your own little DAW studio. It can be expensive or it can be relatively moderately inexpensive, especially with a lot of the freebie stuff that's out there. Everybody wants to sell you a plug-in. When I bought my little Behringer mixer that I use when I record, it came with Audacity and a bunch of other software that I could download. And usually when you buy, even if you buy just an audio interface, a lot of them offer a software package so that you can use it for recording, whether it be podcast software, recording software, just whatever.
It comes packaged.
They have bundled, and which makes it really easy for everybody to start getting introduced into what you want to do.
There's that free thing again. Free. It's
they're freebie. It came with the
why
price.
not?
Well, it probably wasn't free because you paid the price of the product, but
they make you think.
It come with it. They say it's free. Yeah. They say it's free. So just some playing around with audio Audacity. When I got that Behringer, Audacity came with it. I was playing around with it. I usually use Audition, Adobe Audition. I have a version, old version of Audition that still today
still works.
Yeah, it's like Audition 3, and I think we're up to Audition 20. But I don't feel like going out and having to rent it. It's what you're basically doing. You're renting the license, and that can get quite costly. Reaper puts out some good product. Cubase has some. I think
I was raised on Cakewalk, by the way. Cakewalk. On Cakewalk. And
Cakewalk.
It used to be free, but I believe they've just moved to a subscription based. Very powerful, but so let me ask you this, Dan. And I know we covered a lot of different features within these technologies. Would it be true or false? The technologies that we've been talking about today actually can be found in the DAWs that exist today.
Everything. This is what's so great. I mean, DAWs is, and what it's endless. It's endless with the what you can do with DAW programs or DAW software. Just the plugins alone. You don't even have to have an amplifier anymore because it can, plug your guitar into your interface and
that was
you
taboo
can dial
before.
up a Marshall stack or a Mesa Boogie or a Orange, or hey, one of my favorites used to be that Roland chorus amp. Oh, they were.
I'm going to bring I'm going to bring the other panelists back in on this conversation, because I know things that you're going to be talking about. Michael, let me ask you this. As a performer right now, you're actually out there and you're performing, and when you are thinking of maybe writing a song or recording a cover that you want to share with others so they can go ahead and learn, you use a full DAW. You were just mentioning that. Are you finding that is an easy solution to use? Is it challenging for you, or is this something that it's kind of like, hey man, I've been doing it for so long, I grew into it? What
you mean the DAW?
Yeah, in a DAW situation.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so I wanted to say that DAW is an extension of your artistic abilities. It allows you to bypass the engineer and for you to design your sound the way you want the world to hear it.
You're your own producer.
Your own producer. And that is really hard to get your ideas, what it should sound like, into the head of somebody else so they can tweak the knobs and levers, right? So for me, it became an extension of my artistic abilities. And so for me, that's why I'm so fascinated with it now. But no, I go to it, if I'm producing a recording, just even just for sharing now, because it's because of what I just said, I go full blown. I have dual, condenser mics for my acoustic guitar. I've got different microphones for my vocals. My goodness, I multi-track everything, right? And and it goes into the DAW, and I spend the time. Again, I'm fascinated with the software and with the DAW and with the capabilities too. So it holds my interest. I don't see it as a burden to have to do that. I see it as an artistic expression to do that. So for me, that's where I go with it.
I agree. David Welch has been trying to chime in on something. I think, what do you got there, David?
Oh, well, it's been fun. I'm just, I was raising my hand every once in a while just because I had a comment or two, but I'm good now. You guys are talking about something completely different. So,
so there's so much to talk about, right?
I honestly use Audacity a little bit just because it came with my my little MIDI keyboard that I got that I mess around with. And honestly, though, when I record vocals, because I do it at home, I don't have crap all over my walls to pad it or anything. I use Audacity. So I use both programs. I'll record my vocals on Audacity, freaking turn it into an MP3, drag it over to, and then drag it over to Ableton. That's why I'm at Ableton. I use Ableton to do all my mixing and stuff. That came with my MIDI keyboard. So I use Audacity to record my vocals, filter it, get rid of the room noise, drag it over to Ableton, mix it with Ableton with instrumentals and stuff that I throw through my my DAW that I have, which is the Scarlett or whatever. And then
David, you bring up a good point. I mean, you're capturing the idea Michael was just talking about. These are the things that help me extend my creativity. I want to go to John Hensley now. And, again, as a musician, and now the ability to do your own audio mixing, how do you draw the distinction between, okay, I'm getting too deep into being a musician here. I need to think of what I have in mixing. What are some of the challenges, wearing both hats sometimes, that our community members should be thinking about it? Is it easy to put the hat on, put the musician's hat down and put on the sound mixing hat, and vice versa?
I think it makes you a better musician because you really start to become aware of what's happening within, the dynamics of the music that you're creating. One thing I've really had fun with since I've learned how to use the DAW and is recording different parts of the song myself. So I'll write a song and I'll record an acoustic part. I'll record a vocal track, and then I go, oh, you know what I can do now? I can play the cajon back there, and now I have a rhythm, and now I can drop a bass line on there because I have a bass guitar. Oh, now you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a guitar solo on here. And so it gives you, and you start to really, it just turns on your creative center, man. And that's what's really fun about it, because you get this whole different perspective when you can start getting, it's like being your own band. And that's what makes being in a band fun, is that you have other people like, oh, look what he's adding to what I'm doing. But you're the one that gets to add all of it. So you get this really kind of free reign on, ability of things to be able to do.
I was going to say, John, one of the things when I started recording that automatically, you're right, there's a musician hat and then there's an audio hat, and that audio hat can totally get overwhelming in a certain instance, because as you start to mix, you're like, wait, I hear that, maybe I should add a little bit of that, maybe I should mess with the volume on that one part, and then before you know it, you're messing with all these crazy nuances, and you're like, oh, what am I doing here? Kind of thing.
Easy to do. So I think I've recorded in the DAW that I use, which is a Cakewalk, put together a song that I had written, recorded it for my band so they can go ahead and learn their parts. And I'm going to throw this out to everyone who's on this panel here. And David, you stick around for this. I think I've thrown together 20 tracks of recordings. So vocals, high harmonies, low harmonies, bass guitar, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, and so on and so forth. What are some, just to give the community an idea, sense of what you can do. I threw 20 tracks on a song. What have you guys done?
Well, so this is, I try to keep things pretty simple. So, if I do 8 to 12 tracks, that's a lot. I try to get by pretty simply, but one of the fascinating things to me is, besides sort of tweaking, the notes and the riffs, right, pulling little parts out and putting, new parts in, is jumping into those VSTs, into those plugins. Because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do like a lead line, and I'm not the world's greatest lead guitar player, but there's so many choices of sounds. Like we were talking, like a wall of Marshalls. Well, I could never afford a wall of Marshalls, but I can fire that up in the DAW.
Like what Daniel has on his.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And I can make it sound pretty darn good. And a few years ago we would have said, oh, it sounds kind of cheesy. Or you remember there was, I think it was Zoom who had one of those digital pedals back a few years ago, and it was kind of like, it's kind of cheesy. They're really good now. There's a lot of really good plugins. And then the other thing is just subtle things like, just a track for a hi-hat, right? I just wish I had a little tink once in a while, right? And that's like really fun to do. And, so I could say I will build out to maybe, 8 to 12 after I do the original 2 or 3, 4 tracks. But yeah, it's just, you can get lost in it forever if you're not careful.
Oh, good.
John, when you were saying about hi-hat tink, it brought me to cowbell.
More cowbell.
You got a fever.
Yeah.
The only cure is more cowbell.
Oh, good Lord. All right. Hey, listen, I hate to cut us short because it is now 12 minutes after 11 here on the West Coast. But I want to thank the panelists here for contributing to today's Guitar Shop. It was a wonderfully informative conversation on what you, the community members of guitar players, the learners, if you've been thinking about wanting to record yourself, we've given you some tools to think about. We've given you, the experience of this panel, who you might be able to talk with a little bit more about those different solutions. Be thinking about it. You become a better player. You become a better player more quickly after you start listening to your own recordings of yourself. You can start to pick out the things that you like, the things that you want to improve, but you got to start with an audio recording solution that you're comfortable in using. So with that said, for Michael O'Connell, for John Hensley, for John DeMarco, for Daniel B, I'm Tom Lamog. Thank you all again for joining us for Guitars for Vets Guitar Shop, and we will see you next month. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day.